if you like Korea, there is a K-pop and Hanbok, but you can leave out K-dramas, aren't you? Right? So, hey Mary, do you like watching K-drama?
I love K-dramas. Do you
Okay.
like K-dramas?
All right. What kind of Korean dramas do you like?
Oh, there's too many to choose from. I love every single one I've seen. All of them. What makes K-dramas enjoyable? To have the ability to touch your heart, unlike other shows.
That's a great question, right?
Then let's invite our next guest, Dr. Marcy Tanner, who will show you how Hallyu connects Korea to the U.S.
Amazing, right? 닥시 터너 선생님은 동국대와 그다음에 유명 대학교에서 한국 트렌드에 대해서 강연하시면서 미국의 한류를 알려주시는 정말 감사한 분입니다. 한번 모셔보실게요. 네. 큰 박수로 맞아주시면 감사하겠습니다.
Good afternoon. Thank you all for being here. It's kind of hard following up a Hanbok show, but those were beautiful, weren't they? Absolutely gorgeous. Everybody did a great job. Can I have my first slide, please? Okay, so for about the past 10 years, I have been studying Korea and Korean culture. And one thing that I have found is that Americans don't know a lot about Korean culture, but Korean culture is starting to spread, and the fact that we have many non-Koreans here today is proof of that. One of the things that I have studied as a professor is the spread of Korean culture and how it is impacting the United States. Next slide, please. I know it might be a little bit hard to see the slides from where you're all sitting, but I wanted to show you a couple of things. A 2021 Chicago Council on Global Affairs survey shows that a majority of Americans hold favorable views of South Korea. This is significant because up until this century, most Americans didn't know anything about Korea other than the Korean War. And those views were often very negative. And so the fact that now we're doing surveys and we're finding that more Americans actually know something about Korea, they can find Korea on a map, and they have a favorable view of Korea is very significant. Another statistic that I have for you involves Airbnb, which I'm sure you've all heard of. Airbnb has spread globally, and of course they have branches in South Korea. And one of the things that they have done is, you may know that Airbnb has what are called experiences. So in addition to renting a place to stay, you can actually have a cultural experience with a person from the country where you're visiting. And the Korean experiences were added in 2019, and they have K-pop and beauty experiences where tourists can book with a local Korean person who will take them to visit sites where K-pop videos were filmed, where K-pop stars own cafes and things like that. So this is fairly significant because there are enough tourists who are going to Korea who are looking for these cultural experiences that a company like Airbnb, an American company, is actually making a profit through these experiences that they're offering now. Next slide, please. So this is another survey that was done in 2020, and it's showing that the images that are associated with Korea. I don't have time to go through all of this, but what is significant here is that there are several items that come up consistently that Americans associate with Korea. K-pop is right now the #1 thing that Americans associate with Korea. There's also K-dramas. But also there are things like Korean beauty products, Korean food, Korean films, and of course tourism. But what this shows is that even North Korea is on people's radars, and not always negatively. Sometimes North Korea is featured in dramas, and that actually has helped to ameliorate some of the attitudes that people have. Next slide, please. Okay, you might have seen the film Parasite. Anybody here see Parasite? Yes, well, You may also know that Parasite won 4 Oscars. And it was the first time that a foreign language film won the Oscar for Best Picture. Also the first time that a foreign director won for Best Direction in another language as the main director prize. Unfortunately, the actors were not recognized, and that's something that hopefully will change over time. But it's very significant that a Korean film came to the United States and it's not dubbed. People have to read the subtitles, and Americans are notorious for not wanting to read subtitles. And the fact that this film did so well with subtitles means that people want Korean content. They're willing to go and see a film in Korean with subtitles, and we make it the best film of the year. Next slide, please. Okay, so what is Hallyu? How many of you have heard the term Hallyu before? Anybody? Anybody? You don't know the term Hallyu? Some of you do. Some of you kids at the back do. Hallyu basically just means Korean cultural content, okay? And the reason why we have a term for it is because there's so much that is spreading around the world. Hallyu first was coined in China by a Chinese journalist, and the reason why he was even talking about it was because you see there's a poster here for something where it says Winter Sonata. These are all Korean dramas that have been shown around the world. All of them have been shown here in the United States. Winter Sonata is a drama from the early 2000s that was sent abroad to Japan and China. The Japanese and the Chinese went nuts over Winter Sonata. It became a huge, huge thing, and it actually sparked a wave of tourism to South Korea, but it also sparked sending the drama to Europe and the United States, and around the world there was tremendous reaction to the drama. And if you haven't seen it, I recommend it. It's a little dated, but it's still a good love story, so you should go and see it. Other dramas that have made it big in the US are Coffee Prince with Gong Yoo, if you've seen Train to Busan, another big Korean movie. This is one of the early K-dramas that he made. Crash Landing on You was from last year. Yes, yes. They just had a baby, a little boy, so cute. Crash Landing on You is about a South Korean woman who actually accidentally ends up in North Korea, and it's a good drama, and that got a lot of positive press. Itaewon Class is a drama that aired a couple years ago. It was huge, especially with American youth. Boys Over Flowers is an old Korean drama, very old school, and unfortunately is somewhat anti-woman, but it's a very famous one, and there are some really good moments in it. And then, of course, you all probably have heard of Squid Game, right? Squid Game is a drama from last year that was so huge that people wore Squid Game outfits for Halloween. And this year at my school, people were even dressing up in Squid Game apparel just over Christmas when we had a dress-up day. So all of these dramas are shown with subtitles. Most of them are on Netflix. Some of them are on a site called Viki, Hulu. Disney Plus is starting to show Korean dramas. And what we're seeing is that we're getting a lot of response from the American public to Korean dramas, and Americans want to see more, to the extent that Netflix, an American company, has gone into Korea and is actually making content to bring back to the U.S. They are co-producing dramas with Korean companies. Next slide. This is a drama that just finished just about a week ago. It's called The Empire, and it was also very huge. So I recommend it if you want something to watch The Empire. Next. Okay, so one of the reasons that we're here today is for music. Is that right, guys? Is there some music thing happening today? I forget what it is, but something to do with music. K-pop. Now, on the top left-hand corner here, Seotaeji and Boys was a Korean band in the 90s that became very popular, and they're sort of recognized as the first musical group from Korea to really enter the pop scene, and to sort of help foment what became K-pop. The guy in the middle, anybody recognize him? Anybody know Psy and the horse dance? Um, his video and song, Gangnam Style, which was mocking women in Gangnam and kind of in a really fun way, that became a huge hit worldwide, especially in this country. I think he was the first non-English video to get over 1 million views on YouTube. And then some of these other groups, Girls' Generation, Super Junior, and maybe you've heard of BTS. Yeah, maybe, kind of, sort of. They have all hit it big worldwide. In the middle, you see the Time magazine cover? Do y'all see that? This is 2022, this year. This just came out. Time magazine's Entertainer of the Year is the Korean girl group Blackpink. Korean cultural content is affecting the United States. It's really making an impact here. People are buying it. They're buying into it. They're imitating it. We have some dancers coming up in a little while who are doing K-pop cover dances. This is not a small thing. There is profit to be made, and there is content to be shared. Next slide. Anybody heard of H Mart? Okay. H Mart. H Mart is a grocery store not far from here. They're one of our sponsors. We've all been there. I go about every 6 weeks. I can't stay away from the place. I love H Mart. Why is H Mart popular? It's not only because the Koreans in the United States shop there. There are non-Koreans who are going to H Mart to buy Asian goods. Most of what they sell is Korean, but of course you all know they also have Japanese and Chinese and Indian and Thai and Vietnamese foods. Americans are going there because they've tried the foods in the restaurants, they want to make them at home, right? This is new. This is not something we have always done. This is Korean culture, Asian culture having an impact here in the United States. Next slide, please. Okay, this is from 2021. There are 102 H Marts across the land with vast refrigerated cases devoted to kimchi and banchan, the side dishes essential to any Korean meal. In 2020, the company reported $1.5 billion in sales. 102 stores are raking in $1.5 billion, and it's probably more at this point. That's a big profit. Next slide, please. Okay, these are some other companies. There's a company called K-Pop Foods based in Los Angeles. There's another company called K-Star Live, and there was another list that I could not fit on here. There are a bunch of companies coming to the United States that are opening their branches here because of Korean content. Because Americans want more, we want access, we want to be able to enjoy things, and we're accepting of what the Koreans are sending us. And of course, the other side of that coin is that we are going to Korea as tourists. So we are getting Korean cultural content here in the United States. We are very attracted to it. We love it. We want to know more about Korea, so we go to Korea as tourists. Both of our economies are benefiting from this. Next slide, please. NBC, a Korean network, news network. NBC creates content for entertainment purposes also. They sponsor dramas, they have variety shows. They have an American branch. So does YTN, so does KBS, so does SBS. Korean entertainment companies are coming here to the States, and because we are responding so well to their content, they're reporting from the United States. They report on American things, but they're also helping with the Korean content that's being created and imported here. Next. Netflix's subscriber growth sparks surge in Korean drama stocks. If anybody's looking to invest, I recommend a Korean drama production company. Netflix is only increasing the number of dramas. And they're co-producing, and there's more to come. Next slide, please. Okay, what are some of the things that Americans recognize about Korea? It's not just about K-pop and K-drama. There's food, Samsung phones, and I will tell you that I only buy Samsung phones. Why do I buy Samsung phones? Because every time I watch a drama, there's a scene where they hone in and we see the Samsung symbol on that phone. I have been absolutely affected by product placement. I love Samsung. I'll never have an iPhone. iPhones actually show up in dramas, and if you've ever eaten at a Subway, Subway has become a big sponsor of Korean dramas. Korean beauty products are huge. Kia, Hyundai. Next slide, please. Can you can you go back? There's a video that should be. Can you play the LG washer song? Is it not going to play? It's not. Oh, no, there's a video. Okay. Well, unfortunately, I couldn't play the most fun part of this presentation to you. But if you have an LG washing machine or an LG dryer, when the cycle finishes, it plays a little tune. This tune is famous. Anybody who has an LG knows the tune. And people even have it on their phones as their ringtones and things. That's how popular. Next slide. This is not in the United States. This is in London, England, at the Victoria and Albert Museum. They're just concluding a huge Hallyu exhibit. The Victoria and Albert rarely has exhibits like this. This is the first of its kind. I'm hoping they'll bring it here to the United States. They've had millions of visitors. Next slide. And of course, one of the ways that we know that Korean content really has come to the American people and makes people interested is the fact there are Korean festivals all over the country every year. COVID did disrupt a lot of what was going on, but these are just posters from Atlanta, Los Angeles, a small town in Maryland. There are two here actually from LA. One is KCON, and one is the Los Angeles Korean Festival. KCON is the largest K-pop festival in the world, and it takes place in Los Angeles, California, not in Seoul, South Korea. That tells a lot. And people come from all over the world to attend. But for this festival to take place in America and not in Korea tells us how Americans are responding to the content. Next slide. And of course, this is just a few of the posters, but this is just a symbol of how often we have the Korean festival here in Dallas, here in Carrollton. The fact that it's been, I think it's 20 years, is that right? Does anybody know exactly how many years it's been? I can't remember. But every year, except for when we have a pandemic, we have this festival. And why do we have it? Because people want it, people come, right? And if we don't have it, people say, why isn't it happening? During the pandemic, people were asking, are we going to do it? Are we going to do something? And of course we couldn't, but we wanted to, and people wanted. I had a lot of people asking me, when is the Korean festival coming back? Korean cultural content is worldwide. But here in the United States, it really has found a way to connect Americans and Koreans so that we can understand each other. And certainly Americans who used to know nothing other than the fact that the Korean War happened now know so much more about Korea that they can even tell you what kind of hanbok the king wore. Thank you very much. 감사합니다.
네, 다시 한번 큰 박수 부탁드리겠습니다. 네. 이런 분들이 계시기 때문에 이렇게 한류를 전파해 주시기 때문에 오늘 이 자리도 있을 수 있다고 생각이 듭니다. 네.
Thanks to the spread of Korean wave culture, we are able to have such a great event today in the United States.
I appreciate it.